Hey everyone, welcome to the first lecture of Chapter 5, and today's talk is on adjectives, and specifically it is on first and second declension adjectives. Okay, so adjectives of the first, excuse me, and second declension. All right, so the first thing that we need to know about adjectives is that adjectives have all three genders. That is, an adjective can be masculine, it can be feminine, and it can be neuter. Okay, and so here's an example of a first and second declension adjective. So, and this is what the vocab entry would look like. Bonus, bona, bonum. And so bonus is the masculine form, bona, feminine form, and bonum, the neuter form. Okay, so we use adjectives to modify nouns just like we do in English. And the other thing we need to know about adjectives is that adjectives agree with nouns. You could also say modify nouns in three ways. Okay, so they modify nouns in case, number, and gender. So all three of these things have to be the same for the adjective to modify the noun. Okay, now I'm going to give you some examples of some, excuse me, of some adjectives modifying some nouns. Okay, so let's take the noun amicus, which of course means friend, and if I want to say good friend, I have to use the masculine form of the adjective. So amicus bonus would be the good friend. Okay, well, if I wanted to say, for instance, let's say I wanted to say the good country. I would say patria bona, because patria is feminine. And so now we're going to use a neuter word, and let's use templum. And so if I want to say the good temple, that would be templum bonum. Okay, so the basic things we need to understand about adjectives. Adjectives change their gender. Okay, so they can be masculine, feminine, or neuter, and they change the gender to modify the nouns. Okay, so because amicus is masculine, we use the masculine form of bonus. Because patria is feminine, we use the feminine form, bona. And because templum is neuter, we use the neuter form, bonum. Okay, so pretty simple, right? It's all based on gender, but also on number and case. We'll get to the number and case part in a second. More about the gender, though. Okay, let's consider words that we call the pain words. Right? Remember from chapter 1, these are words like poeta and agricola and incola and nauta. And what is special about these words grammatically is that they are masculine but first declension. Okay, so even though they end in A, they're not feminine, they're masculine. And so if we are modifying these nouns with adjectives, then we have to use the masculine forms to modify them. So let's take an adjective. We'll use the adjective clarus. So clarus, clara, clarum, which of course clarus means famous, or it can also mean clear or bright. And so if I wanted to say a famous poet, right, poeta, I would say poeta, and then I would use the masculine form, clarus. So nouns and adjectives don't always have to have the same ending, or they don't even have to have the same declension, right? Poeta is first declension, and clarus is second declension. But they must have the same gender. Okay, and because poeta is masculine, we have to use the masculine form of the adjective clarus. Okay, so adjectives have to agree in gender. They also have to agree with nouns in number and also in case. Okay, so let's take the pair we just had, poeta and clarus. Alright, and if I were to decline this, right, if I were to set up all 5 cases, and I'll just abbreviate them over here, so nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. Okay, if I were to decline this pair together, then I would decline poeta as first declension, so it would be poetae, poetae, poetam, and then for ablative, poeta with a macron. And then if I were to decline clarus, well, it would look like second declension masculine. It would look like how we decline amicus or anus. So clarus, clari, claro, clarum, and claro. Okay, so if we break all this down, right, they're the same gender, they're both masculine, even though they're not the same declension. They're the same number. The number here is all singular. Okay, didn't do the plural, just the singular. And the case, right, so we have nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. So adjectives have to modify or agree with their nouns in gender, number, and case. And the translations for the adjectives are the same for the nouns for each case. So poeta clarus would be the famous poet. Okay, poetae clari would be of the famous poet. Poetae claro would be to or for the famous poet. Okay, poetam clarum would be the famous poet as a direct object. I see the famous poet, or I know the famous poet. And poeta claro would be something like by, with, or maybe even from the famous poet. Okay, one more thing about adjectives. Let's consider how to decline them. Okay, so I'm going to set up a quick chart again with the 5 cases, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative, and masculine, feminine, and neuter. And this is just for the singular. Okay, and we're going to use the noun longus. So longus, longa, longum, and longus of course just means long. Okay, now you think, oh, I have to learn new endings for these adjectives. You actually don't. You actually already know the endings if you know your declensions for first and second declension. So longus is going to be declined just like amicus. So longus, longi, longo, longum, and longo. So usiomo, excuse me, longa will be declined just like agricola or puella. So longa, longai, longai, longam, and longa with a macron. And then longum, the neuter, will be declined like bellum or templum, so regular second declension neuter. So longum, longi, longo, longum, and longo. Okay, and that is how we decline the singular. And so now let's do the plural. So we'll set up the cases again. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. And we'll have our masculine, feminine, and neuter. And this time, declining in the plural. Okay, so nominative plural would be longi. Okay, feminine plural, longai. And neuter plural, longa. Okay, just like the plurals of masculine, feminine, and neuter for first and second declension. Then longorum, longis, longos, and longis. So we have e, orum, is, os, is. And then for first declension, longai, longarum, longis, longas, and longis. Okay, and then for neuter, longa, longorum, longis, longa. Remember, in neuter, nominative and accusative both end in a in the plural. And then ablative, longis. Okay, so not too tough. Remember, you already know the endings. You just have to think about them as adjective endings now. Okay, and that is it for today, and looking forward to seeing you guys again next time.